The first sensation Lieutenant Samira Patel registered was cold, a bone-deep chill that made her teeth chatter. The second was the oddly melodic hum surrounding her, nothing like the familiar drone of her naval submarine's engines. Her eyes fluttered open to a sight that made her wonder if she was still dreaming. The ceiling above her rippled like liquid mercury, patterns of light dancing across its surface in hypnotic waves. She lay on what felt like a gel-padded examination table, wearing what appeared to be a skin-tight suit made of an iridescent material that shifted colors with her movements. "What the hell?" she muttered, pushing herself up on her elbows. The room around her was circular, with walls that seemed to be made of the same flowing metallic substance as the ceiling. Various holographic displays hovered in the air, showing what looked like medical readouts in an alien script she couldn't begin to comprehend. A soft chiming sound drew her attention to a doorway that hadn't been visible moments before. Through it stepped a being that made Samira's breath catch in her throat. The alien stood nearly 7 feet tall, its body appearing to be composed of semi-transparent crystalline structures that refracted light in rainbow patterns. Within its crystalline form, Samira could see what looked like streams of luminescent liquid flowing through intricate channels, creating an effect like living stained glass. The being's face was a more densely crystalline area with several geometric patterns that shifted and realigned as it moved closer. When it spoke, its voice was like wind chimes in a gentle breeze, yet somehow perfectly understandable. "You are awake earlier than anticipated, human Samira Patel. Your species demonstrates remarkable recovery capabilities." The alien's crystalline structure rippled with what might have been curiosity. "I am Nixis, lead xenobiologist of the research vessel Luminous Inquiry." Samira's military training kicked in, helping her maintain composure despite the surreal situation. "How do you know my name? Where am I? What happened to my crew?" "Your identification was obtained from your vessel's database," Nixis explained, moving closer with fluid grace. "Your submarine encountered one of our deep-sea research outposts. The resulting interaction would have been fatal for your crew had we not intervened. They believe your vessel suffered a minor containment breach that you sealed at the cost of your own life. You are considered a hero by your people." The memory came rushing back, the strange lights in the depths, the sudden power failure, her desperate rush to the reactor chamber. "You staged my death," Samira stated flatly, anger beginning to simmer beneath her carefully controlled exterior. "We preserved your life," Nixis corrected, its crystalline form pulsing with soft blue light. "And provided an explanation that spares your crew grief while allowing us to learn from you. Humanity's advancement into the deeper oceans has made first contact inevitable. We needed to understand your species better before proceeding." "By kidnapping me?" Samira swung her legs off the examination table, noting with surprise that she felt stronger than she would have expected after what must have been an extended period of unconsciousness. "By saving you from a situation that would have resulted in your death, and offering you an opportunity few humans will ever have," Nixis responded. "You are aboard the most advanced research vessel in the Crystalline Consensus Fleet. We have much to learn from each other, Lieutenant Patel." The door chimed again, and another crystalline being entered, this one smaller and with a more reddish tint to its flowing internal liquids. "Nixis, the Council requests an update on the human subject's condition." "Subject?" Samira interjected, standing to her full height despite being dwarfed by the aliens. "I'm a lieutenant in the United States Navy, not a lab rat. And I'd appreciate being included in discussions about my condition." The smaller alien's form rippled with what might have been surprise, while Nixis emanated what Samira would swear was amusement. "Indeed. Council Member Vex, allow me to properly introduce Lieutenant Samira Patel. Lieutenant, Council Member Vex oversees our first contact protocols." Vex's crystalline structure shifted in what might have been discomfort. The human shows remarkable assertiveness for a species at their technological level. "Perhaps we should proceed with more conventional observation protocols." "I'm right here," Samira reminded them firmly. "And I'm willing to help you understand humanity better, but as a participant, not a test subject." There's a difference. Nixis moved between them, its form rippling with colors that seemed somehow conciliatory. Perhaps we could continue this discussion somewhere more comfortable. Lieutenant Patel must be hungry, and I'm quite curious to observe human nutritional requirements firsthand. Samira couldn't help but smile slightly at the scientist's transparent attempt to study her while appearing accommodating. Lead the way, Nixis. But I have questions of my own that'll need answering. As they left the medical bay, Samira's mind raced with the implications of her situation. She was officially dead to her world, aboard an alien vessel, and apparently at the center of humanity's first official contact with an advanced civilization. Her training had prepared her for deep-sea emergencies, enemy encounters, and crisis situations, but nothing quite like this. Still, as she watched the crystalline being's graceful movements and observed the incredible technology surrounding her, she felt more fascination than fear. Whatever came next, she had a feeling it would reshape not just her own future, but potentially that of her entire species. The dining hall aboard the luminous Inquiry defied everything Samira understood about conventional spaces. The room seemed to exist in a state of constant flux, with tables and seating areas forming and dissolving from the liquid metal walls as needed. Various alien species moved through the space, some humanoid, others so foreign she couldn't begin to categorize them. Nixis guided her to a table that materialized from the floor, its surface immediately generating what appeared to be a holographic menu. Our molecular synthesizers can recreate any sustenance based on stored patterns. We've analyzed human nutritional requirements and prepared several options. Samira studied the floating symbols, surprised to find she could somehow understand them. The suit, Nixis explained, noticing her confusion. It interfaces directly with your neural pathways, providing real-time translation and basic cultural context. That's both impressive and slightly terrifying, Samira admitted, selecting what the menu suggested was a close approximation of chicken soup. A bowl materialized before her, steam rising from its contents. How much else is this suit doing to my brain? Only what you permit, came a new voice. Another crystalline being approached, this one with swirling patterns of green and gold within its structure. I am Zenith, ship's medical officer and neural interface specialist. The suit maintains a strict ethical barrier around cognitive functions. Samira took a careful sip of her soup, it tasted almost right, with just a slight metallic undertone. So you can't read my thoughts? We cannot, Nixis confirmed, its form pulsing with what she was learning to recognize as enthusiasm. Though your neural patterns are fascinating. Humans appear to process information through both logical and emotional pathways simultaneously, creating unique cognitive resonances. You're studying me right now, aren't you? Samira asked, unable to keep the amusement from her voice. Always, Nixis admitted shamelessly. Your reactions to everything around you provide invaluable data about human adaptability. For instance, your heart rate barely elevated when entering this space, despite being surrounded by entirely alien life forms. Military training, Samira explained between spoonfuls of soup. Navy submarines operate in high-stress environments. We learn to control our reactions, stay focused regardless of circumstances. Zenith's internal patterns swirled with interest. Yet you maintain emotional awareness. Many species sacrifice emotional processing for tactical efficiency. Humans appear to integrate both. Before Samira could respond, a commotion near the entrance drew their attention. A group of aliens she hadn't seen before, tall, angular beings with metallic exoskeletons, were gesturing animatedly at a smaller crystalline figure. Trouble? Samira asked, noting how Nixis's form had stiffened. The Mechanoid Collective, Zenith explained quietly. They oppose direct interaction with emerging species. They believe humanity should be contained and studied from afar. Samira watched as the confrontation escalated, the mechanoids' movements becoming increasingly aggressive. The smaller crystalline being seemed to be trying to defuse the situation, but was clearly outmatched. Without conscious thought, Samira found herself rising from her seat. "Lieutenant," Nixis cautioned, "this is not your concern." "Like hell it isn't," Samira replied, already moving. She approached the group, noting how the mechanoid's attention immediately shifted to her. Up close, they were even more intimidating, standing nearly 9 feet tall with multiple articulated limbs. "This is the human specimen," one of them stated, its voice a metallic grate. "Its presence here violates containment protocols." "Lieutenant Samira Patel, United States Navy," she corrected firmly, positioning herself beside the crystalline being. "And I'm not a specimen. I'm a participant in a cultural exchange program." She had no idea if such a program officially existed, but she projected absolute confidence in her statement. The mechanoids conferred among themselves in rapid bursts of static. "Your species lacks the technological advancement for sanctioned exchange," their apparent leader declared. "Yet here I am, speaking with you as equals," Samira countered. "Maybe it's time to reevaluate your assessment of human capabilities." A tense moment passed before the mechanoids withdrew, their movements suggesting what might have been reluctant respect. The crystalline being beside her relaxed visibly, its form shimmering with relief. "Thank you," it chimed softly. "I am Lux, junior researcher." The mechanoids can be intimidating. "They're bullies," Samira stated flatly. "Doesn't matter what species you are, that behavior is universal." Later, back at their table, Nixis's form rippled with barely contained excitement. "Fascinating. You intervened without hesitation, despite the clear physical disadvantage. And your diplomatic approach, assertive yet non-threatening. You're doing it again," Samira pointed out, smiling despite herself. "Your pardon," Nixis's colors shifted in what might have been embarrassment. "But you must understand, every interaction provides new insights into human nature. Your defense of Lux, for instance, was it tactical? Emotional? Both?" Samira considered the question seriously. "Both, I suppose. Tactically, allowing intimidation to go unchallenged usually leads to escalation. Emotionally." She shrugged. "It was the right thing to do." "The right thing," Zenith repeated thoughtfully. "A moral imperative overriding potential personal risk. Yet implemented with strategic consideration. That's pretty much humanity in a nutshell," Samira said, finishing her soup. "We feel deeply, but we think our way through those feelings. Sometimes it works out well, sometimes it's a mess, but it's who we are." As if to prove her point, alarms suddenly blared throughout the ship, their harmonic tones setting her teeth on edge. Nixis's form went rigid, internal lights pulsing rapidly. "What is it?" Samira demanded, already rising to her feet. "A breach in the quantum containment field," Zenith answered, its voice urgent. "The engine core is destabilizing." Samira's mind raced with memories of her naval engineering training. "Take me there," she ordered. "Now." "The core section is highly restricted," Nixis protested. "And I'm trained in emergency containment procedures," Samira countered. "Different technology, same principles. You wanted to study human problem-solving? Here's your chance." The engine core of the luminous inquiry pulsed with unstable energy, casting wild shadows across the crystalline walls. Samira raced alongside Nixis through corridors that seemed to reshape themselves with each emergency surge, the ship's AI attempting to contain the growing crisis. "Talk to me," Samira demanded as they reached the core chamber. "What powers this ship?" "Quantum-full technology," Nixis explained rapidly, its crystalline form flickering with stress patterns. "We harvest energy from parallel dimensional spaces, but the containment field is failing. If it collapses completely, the dimensional bleed could tear the ship apart," Samira finished, already studying the holographic readouts surrounding the core. Thanks to her neural interface suit, she could understand the basic principles, even if the technology itself was far beyond human science. The core chamber was a massive spherical space dominated by a column of swirling energy that reminded Samira of a tornado made of lightning. Various crystalline technicians worked frantically at control interfaces, their forms pulsing with alarming patterns. The primary containment grid is down to 30%, one technician reported, its voice a discord of chimes. Secondary systems failing. Samira's mind raced, drawing parallels between this system and the nuclear reactors she was trained to manage. Your containment field, it's basically a sophisticated magnetic bottle, right? Keeping the quantum energies focused and controlled. Simplified, but essentially correct, Nixus confirmed. Then we need to think like submariners, Samira stated, moving to one of the control interfaces. Her suit interfaced seamlessly with the system, translating the alien controls into something she could understand. In a pressure crisis, sometimes you have to let off steam before you can seal the breach. A controlled release could destabilize the entire system, another technician protested. It's already destabilizing, Samira countered. Better a controlled burn than a full rupture. Her fingers flew across the holographic controls. Nixus, I need authorization to access the emergency venting protocols. The crystalline scientist hesitated only a moment before placing its hand on the interface. Granted. But what exactly are you planning? Think of it like a submarine's emergency ballast system, Samira explained, already implementing her plan. We're going to vent the excess energy in controlled bursts while simultaneously reinforcing the containment field at its strongest points. The ship's going to rock a bit, though. As if on cue, the entire vessel shuddered as the first energy burst vented into space. Samira kept her focus on the readouts, timing each release with precision born from years of crisis training. Gradually, the core's wild fluctuations began to stabilize. Containment field stabilizing, a technician reported, surprise evident in its harmonic tones. Quantum fold integrity returning to nominal levels. Samira allowed herself to relax slightly, though she kept one eye on the readouts. Crisis averted. Though I'd recommend a full diagnostic of your containment systems. That failure wasn't random. Nixus's form rippled with concern. What do you mean? The pattern of the containment failure, Samira explained, pulling up the system logs. It was too precise, too targeted. Someone knew exactly where to hit your systems to cause maximum damage while still leaving a chance for recovery. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Finally, Nixus spoke, its voice uncharacteristically serious. You suspect sabotage. I know sabotage, Samira confirmed grimly. The question is, who aboard this ship would want to cause a containment failure? And why? Before Nixus could respond, a new figure entered the chamber, one of the mechanoid collective members from earlier. Its metallic exoskeleton gleamed under the core's now stable light. Impressive problem-solving, human, it stated, its mechanical voice giving nothing away. Though perhaps too impressive. How convenient that you were present to resolve a crisis that would have required evacuation of the ship. Samira straightened, meeting its gaze directly. You think I caused this? I just got here, and in case you hadn't noticed, I was in the blast radius along with everyone else. The human is correct, came another voice, council member Vex entered, its crystalline form pulsing with authority. Our preliminary investigation suggests the sabotage originated from within the mechanoid collective's assigned sectors. The mechanoid's posture shifted subtly. An attempt to discredit our position regarding human containment, clearly. Or, Samira interjected, an attempt to force an evacuation. The question is, what's on this ship that someone doesn't want us to find? Vex and Nixus exchanged what appeared to be significant looks, their crystalline forms resonating on frequencies Samira couldn't quite interpret. Finally, Vex turned to her. Lieutenant Patel, what you did today has earned you a measure of trust. Perhaps it's time we showed you the real reason we've been studying humanity so closely. They led her deeper into the ship, through corridors that seemed increasingly secure, until they reached a chamber unlike any she'd seen before. Inside, suspended in a field of energy, floated what appeared to be fragments of ancient technology that looked disturbingly familiar. These artifacts, Nixus explained quietly, were discovered in the depths of your oceans. They bear striking similarities to advanced technology found throughout the galaxy, but carbon dating places them at over 100,000 years old. Samira stared at the fragments, her mind struggling to process the implications. Are you saying? Yes, Vex confirmed. Humanity's past is far more complex than your current civilization realizes. And certain factions would prefer that truth remain hidden. Samira stood before the ancient artifacts, her mind racing with implications. The pieces looked like they could have been pulled from modern naval vessels, except for the strange symbols etched into their surfaces, symbols that matched some of the writing she'd seen around the alien ship. How long have you known about this? She asked quietly, turning to face Nixus and Vex. We discovered the first fragments 50 Earth years ago, Vex replied, its crystalline form pulsing with subtle light patterns. Each new discovery suggested a more complex truth about humanity's origins. Your species didn't simply evolve and develop technology, Nixus added, moving closer to the artifacts. You were guided. Perhaps even engineered, though by whom remains unclear. A sudden commotion outside the chamber interrupted them. The door slid open to reveal several mechanoid guards, their metallic forms bristling with barely contained hostility. Behind them stood a tall figure Samira hadn't seen before, a being composed of what appeared to be living shadow, with points of light like stars scattered throughout its form. Council member Nexus, Vex acknowledged, its tone carrying a note of warning. This breach of protocol has gone far enough, the shadow being stated, its voice resonating on multiple frequencies simultaneously. The human should never have been shown these artifacts. The timeline must be preserved. The timeline is already compromised, Nixus argued, moving to stand beside Samira. The mechanoid attempt to sabotage the core proved that. We need to adapt our approach. Samira's tactical training kicked in as she assessed the situation. The mechanoids were blocking the only exit, and tension was radiating from everyone present. Maybe someone should ask what I think about all this, she suggested firmly. Your opinion is irrelevant, Nexus dismissed. You are a specimen, nothing more. Guards, secure the human and prepare her for memory suppression. No. The word came from Vex, its crystalline form suddenly blazing with intense light. Lieutenant Patel has proven herself worthy of trust. More importantly, she may be key to understanding the artifacts themselves. Explain, Nexus demanded, its shadowy form rippling with what might have been irritation. The artifacts respond to her presence, Nixus stated quickly. Observe. Samira turned back to the suspended fragments and gasped. The etchings were glowing faintly, pulsing in rhythm with her heartbeat. As she stepped closer, the glow intensified. Impossible, one of the mechanoids stated, its metallic voice carrying undertones of concern. Yet observable, Nixus countered. The artifacts recognized something in her genetic structure. Perhaps a remnant of whatever ancient influence shaped humanity's development. Nexus's form contracted slightly. All the more reason to contain this situation. If word of this reaches the wider galactic community. It already has, a new voice announced. Lux, the junior researcher Samira had defended earlier, slipped into the chamber through a hidden entrance. I've transmitted everything to the Galactic Science Council. They're dispatching representatives immediately. The chamber erupted into chaos. The mechanoids moved to apprehend Lux, but Vex's form expanded, creating a barrier of crystalline energy. Nexus's shadowy form writhed with barely contained fury. Do you realize what you've done? The shadow being demanded. Humanity isn't ready for this knowledge. The societal upheaval alone could destabilize their entire civilization. That's not your decision to make, Samira interjected, her voice cutting through the tension. You're so worried about protecting humanity that you've forgotten to respect our agency. We've faced paradigm-shifting discoveries before. We adapt. We grow. Listen to her, Nixis urged. Every interaction with Lieutenant Patel has demonstrated humanity's capacity for adaptation and understanding. They're ready for more than you realize. Suddenly, the artifacts began to pulse with increasing intensity. Symbols that had been dormant for millennia started to shift and realign, responding to some unseen signal. A holographic display materialized in the center of the chamber, showing star maps and text in an ancient script. It's some kind of database, Nixis breathed, its form rippling with excitement. The artifacts are part of a larger network, waiting to be awakened. By human genetic signatures, Vex added, studying the display. Perhaps a failsafe, ensuring the information would only be accessible when humanity reached a certain level of development. Nexus's form had gone completely still. The precursor archive. We thought it was just a myth. The what? Samira asked, unable to tear her eyes away from the shifting star maps. Ancient records speak of a vast repository of knowledge, left behind by a civilization that seeded multiple species throughout the galaxy, Vex explained. Including, it seems, humanity's ancestors. And now it's activating, Lux added, because of her. The implications hit Samira like a physical blow. Her presence on this ship wasn't an accident. The deep-sea research station, her rescue, it had all been orchestrated to test humanity's readiness for this moment. So what happens now? She asked, looking around the chamber at these beings who had just appended everything she thought she knew about human history. Now, Nexus stated, its tone resigned, we prepare for contact. Real contact. The Galactic Science Council will want to establish formal relations with Earth's governments. And the artifacts? Nixis pressed. Will be studied jointly, Vex declared, with Lieutenant Patel as our primary liaison. If humanity is to learn of their true heritage, they should hear it from one of their own. 3 months after the activation of the artifacts, Samira stood at a podium before the United Nations General Assembly. Behind her, representatives from 24 alien species filled the chamber, their diverse forms a testament to the galaxy's rich variety of life. Nixis stood at her side, its crystalline form gleaming under the lights, while holographic displays showed the proceedings to billions of humans and aliens alike. Distinguished representatives of Earth, Samira began, her voice steady despite the historic weight of the moment, what I'm about to share will challenge everything we thought we knew about human history. But it will also open doors to a future greater than we ever imagined. The chamber fell silent as she activated a holographic display, showing the ancient artifacts now fully decoded. 100,000 years ago, humanity wasn't just another evolving species on a small blue planet. We were part of something larger, an experiment in genetic and cultural development by an advanced civilization we now call the precursors. Murmurs rippled through the assembly as she continued. But we weren't merely their subjects. We were their hope for the future. The precursors faced extinction from a threat they couldn't overcome, so they seeded various species throughout the galaxy, each with different aspects of their knowledge and potential encoded into their very DNA. Humanity, Nixis added, its melodic voice carrying clearly through the chamber, received perhaps the most precious gift, adaptability. The ability to face challenges, learn from them, and emerge stronger. It's what drew us to study your species, even before we understood why. Samira nodded, bringing up new displays showing the activated artifact network. The technology we've discovered isn't just a record of our past, it's a key to our future. The precursors left their knowledge in fragments across the galaxy, accessible only when their seeded species reached the right level of development. Humanity's genetic key has unlocked one piece of that puzzle. But this revelation comes with responsibility, she continued, her gaze sweeping the chamber. The artifacts have revealed threats the precursors couldn't overcome, threats that still exist in dark spaces between galaxies. They prepared us, all of us, to face these challenges together. The assembly erupted in questions, concerns, and excited discussion. Samira noticed several mechanoid representatives conferring intensely with human military officials, former adversaries now sharing expertise. Nearby, Nexus's shadowy form rippled as it engaged in deep discussion with Earth's leading physicists about dimensional theory. Lieutenant Patel, one of the human representatives, called out, "How can we be sure humanity is ready for this level of advancement? The technological and social implications alone." "Because we already have proof," Samira replied firmly. "Look around this room. 3 months ago, the idea of aliens in the UN would have seemed impossible. Now we're discussing joint scientific initiatives, cultural exchange programs, and unified defense strategies. Humanity adapts. It's what we were designed to do. And what we continue to learn from," Nixus added. "Your species' ability to process change, to find creative solutions to complex problems, these are traits the galaxy needs. The precursors didn't make humanity perfect. They made you perfectly suited to face the unknown." As the session continued, Samira found herself reflecting on her own journey. From a submarine lieutenant to a bridge between worlds, she'd seen firsthand humanity's capacity to embrace the impossible. The neural interface suit she still wore had become a symbol of that adaptation, human and alien technology working in harmony. Later, in a quiet moment between sessions, she stood with Nixus in the UN building's garden, watching Earth's sunset paint the sky in colors that still captivated her alien friend. "Having doubts?" Nixus asked, noting her contemplative mood. "Not doubts," Samira replied, smiling. "Just appreciating the scale of what's ahead. We're about to take humanity's biggest leap forward since we first looked up at the stars and dreamed. And how do you feel about being at the center of it?" "Honestly?" Samira turned to face her friend, mentor, and fellow explorer of the unknown. "I feel ready. Whether it was the precursors' planning or just human nature, we've always been explorers, dreamers, problem solvers. Now we just have a bigger frontier to explore. And bigger challenges to face," Nixus reminded her, its form shifting with concern. "Together," Samira emphasized. "Whatever's out there in the dark between galaxies, whatever threats the precursors feared, we'll face them as a united galaxy. Human adaptability, crystalline wisdom, mechanoid precision, and who knows what other strengths we'll discover along the way." The last rays of sunlight caught the crystalline being's form, sending rainbow patterns dancing across the garden. "You know," Nixus observed, "when I first studied human optimism, I thought it was a charming but primitive trait. Now I understand it's one of your greatest strengths." "Hope," Samira corrected gently. "We call it hope. And it's something we're pretty good at sharing." As if to prove her point, a group of human children ran past, excitedly showing a young crystalline visitor how to fly a kite in Earth's wind. The future they represented, one of unity, discovery, and endless possibility, was already taking shape. "Come on," Samira said, straightening her uniform. "We've got more work to do. Those artifacts aren't going to decode themselves, and I hear the Andromedan delegation is particularly interested in human perspectives on quantum mechanics." As they walked back into the UN building, Samira couldn't help but smile. The universe was bigger and more complex than humanity had ever imagined, but that just meant there was more to explore, more to learn, and more ways to grow. The precursors hadn't just given humanity a past, they'd given them a future limited only by their imagination and determination to reach for the stars.